Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So this week, a little bit different. I'm not doing any drawing or painting as such. Instead, I wanted to talk about this idea of the Notan. So the word Notan, it's originally a Japanese word, written in Japanese top left. Two kanji characters. The one on the left means dark in this context. It can mean different things in different contexts, but in this case it means dark. The one on the right means light, so dark and light, or if you like, black and white. And to me, that's what the Notan is. It's just a simplified, very simplified black and white illustration, simple picture, whatever way you want to think of it. You can see an example on the right hand side. So this little video that I'm doing, I'm just putting forward my ideas of how I use Notans. I'm not saying this is the right way or the only way. It's just the way I've used them in the past. And just sharing that with everybody watching these videos. So to me, the Notan and the value study, and you can see both on screen at the moment, are quite different. And I use them for different purposes. A value study on the right hand side is much more detailed. It's much more complicated and could be a piece of final art in itself, really. Whereas the Notan on the left is very simple, and the advantage of simplifying it that much is you can then focus on the big shapes within your composition. If you don't like the word composition, and personally I don't, it gives me stress to think about it, but you could think of it instead as the design of your piece of artwork. In this case, I'm talking about landscapes, but really any, portraits, whatever. So it's all about design, and it's about the big shapes within the design. So we're getting rid of all the detail completely. There's no detail in this. It's just a very simple black and white, big shapes. That's it. You can see me creating one on screen at the moment. I'm using digital media. Specifically, this is a piece of software called Affinity Designer. But you don't have to do it in digital. Of course, you could do it pencil and paper, pen and ink, charcoal, whatever is convenient for you. In this example, there are three big shapes, which actually, when you think about it, creates 7 shapes in the overall design, because as well as the 3 black shapes, and I'm going to color them just so they stand out, but the 3 main shapes divide the overall paper. You then end up with 4 white shapes, or negative shapes if you like. So really then the Notan, the way I use it is just to play around with the arrangement of these shapes. So if you change the tilt of the horizon line, if you make one of the shapes bigger or change the shape of it a bit, how does that affect the overall design? And that's really what I'm playing with. Now, some people will use these to plan out their paintings or drawings. I don't, because as I've said before, and this is a personality thing, I don't plan stuff out. Things just happen spontaneously. It's just the way I am. It's my personality. So when I sit down to draw or paint something, there's no plan, there's no idea, there's no reference. It's just start making marks and see what happens. But I do use these Notans as a way of not so much practicing, but training. Training's maybe the best word. Training my brain to think about the big shapes, to ignore the details and just focus in on those big shapes and remind myself that you can move those things around and you can play with the design of the final piece of art and create different compositions, even with same or similar elements. So for example, the 2 drawings on screen, these are both recent drawings from the last couple of months. They are essentially the same design, the same composition. You have a long straight, in this case a road, could be a river, whatever it is, going off into the distance, single point perspective. It's basically the same design, the same composition. But by arranging those big shapes in slightly different ways, you can end up with drawings and paintings that look quite different, or at least significantly different. So sum up, that's basically how I'm using Notans. It's a way of training my brain to think about the big shapes, because I find that useful in drawing and painting. Like I say, even though I'm not planning out compositions, it's still something that's spontaneously, organically happening as I'm drawing. So somewhere in my brain there is this, hopefully, little voice saying, remember the big shapes, remember the design pattern, the composition, and don't be afraid to play around with that. If you made it this far in the video, hopefully it was interesting, useful. Thank you for watching and listening, and hopefully see you again in next week's video.